Hi friends! I wanted to make a short video today of one of the most popular yoga postures that you'll come across in any sequence: vinyasa yoga, hatha yoga, downward facing dog. Super duper challenging on days when you are in pain. I actually had a rheumatologist one time tell me that I shouldn't do yoga because down dog is bad for your wrists. And I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. It is very hard on your wrists, and I am very passionate about the modifications for it because half the days I can't do the regular version of it. My wrist flexion stops about there, and not only due to like permanent physical limitation, but still active inflammation. So even if they did stop there, I could probably still do the posture, but they stopped there with pain, so I really can't weight bear them some days. So it is really strengthening on wrists, shoulders, ankles, because you're taking the weight of the pelvis upward. Your heart is above your head, so it's an inversion. And it is a very beneficial posture. I don't want to just like totally take it out of a practice, whether you're in a class or practicing at home. But like I said, a lot of days it can be very challenging. So today I'm just going to make a video of 2 modifications that I mention in every single class. I mention it if it's a gentle specific class. I mention it if it's a vinyasa level 2 class. I want people to know that there are options and that you can always play with them and change it day to day what you want to do. Today I'm not going to use, I'll make a future video where we use props to modify downward facing dog, but today it's just us and the sticky mat. So your regular downward facing dog, right? And I can demo it today because I'm feeling kind of good, but not all days. Can I even do this, right? Has your hands about shoulder width apart, feet about shoulder width apart. In a lot of images, you'll see the ankles dropped all the way to the mat. That is really demanding on your hamstrings. And, you know, I've been practicing for, I don't know, a long time, 15 plus years, and I still don't have the heels dropped all the way down. So I'm in full support of bending your knees, but even here, right, you're going to weigh the same amount on your wrists and on your ankles. So say it's a day where you're in a lot of pain and you need to take most of the weight out of that idea and even maybe some of the inversion out of it, because some days it's not the pressure on the hands and feet, it's just like the pressure on the system. So the fact of having your head below your heart where it's not used to be, this might not be the day for it. You can let that be a little bit less in puppy dog pose. You'll hear it called, or kneeling downward facing dog. So I'm going to come down to my knees for this one. They're still hips width apart. Hands are still shoulder width distance apart. And then I'm going to try to keep my hips high over my knees, which I personally find extremely challenging. My hips want to pull back, but you're shooting for above the knees or even slightly in front of the knees to put a little bit more weight into the hands. If it's comfortable, bring your forehead down to the mat. Sometimes you'll see a version where chin's on the mat, but that's really extreme. You don't have to do that. And ideally elbows off the mat. So you are keeping a really active upper body. Look for the space between your shoulders and ears. It's the same arms as hands and feet down dog. I'll usually refer to it as, if I'm talking through all these options, same arms, just taking a break on the ankles today, taking a little bit less of an inversion and quite a bit easier on the wrists. My, again, limitation usually is in my wrists, but my ankles too. But my favorite version, when I learned this one, it kind of changed my life, is called Dolphin pose or Dolphin dog, I call it, or forearm downward facing dog. So I'm going to come down to my forearms, elbows about shoulder width distance apart. Maybe your forearms are parallel to each other, maybe they're not. That again can be really challenging on the shoulder joint. And so I have nothing against hands coming together, or maybe you're neutral in your forearms and you're pressing onto the sides of a block. Again, we're not doing it with postures today, but there are a lot of options. Then I'm going to do my same lower body as my hands and feet downward facing dog. So this is obviously saving my wrists. However, I've shifted my center of gravity forward by a good amount, right? I've lost about a foot of length and space on that upper body, so I've shifted everything forward, which is going to be a lot more demanding on the shoulders. So you don't have to hold this one for a super long time. It'll build you strong shoulders in a really short amount of time. And then you get to be the judge of the distance between your hands and feet. Some days just shallowing the distance between your hands and feet in your downward facing dog here is all that your wrists might need. And this is just as much of a downward facing dog, super bent knees as anything else is. So you listen to your body. Like I said, I'll do a future video in the near future talking about some props that you can use to modify for different body parts, modify for different effects, and just kind of keep experimenting. But otherwise, pain's a bitch, but luckily yoga is super adaptable and yoga helps. I hope that helped.